Hi, I'm Jim N4BFR. Here's your COVID-19 update for Georgia. This is Tuesday, August 4th. Let's go ahead and, is it August 4th? It's August 4th. How about that? Let's go ahead and take a look at today's report. We had a surprisingly low number of cases today. Number of tests today and cases. But specifically tests. We only had 18,000 tests, which is, as you can see by the change versus prior week, nearly a little over half of what we had last week. So very few tests coming in as we look at the data. The question always becomes, is this a case of low demand for testing, or is this a case of low throughput of testing, or maybe something else? I can tell you from having gone through testing recently, there's pretty good demand. I experienced a 4-day wait last week to get a test. Just got my results yesterday. Negative, woohoo! But there's still a good demand for testing. So somewhere along the line, there seems to be some sort of throughput problem with getting tests through. This is the second day in a row, too, that testing has fallen off, and we've done an atypical number of tests. What the difference that we see is we see that in the higher percentage of positive tests. So 14% positive, and that only drives 2,500 new cases, though. So it's hard to say it's a chicken and egg thing, but if we're not testing, we're not finding the cases for sure. So we will continue to watch the data and see how it goes for cases. I will say that the rate that we saw of tests, the last time we had a testing day that low was the day after the 4th of July weekend. So this is definitely atypical. I don't know that it particularly purports to a trend. It does make the number of new cases look, I feel, artificially low, particularly when you look at new hospitalizations were up and active hospitalizations remained up. But we will see if this is the case as we go forward. I'm going to go ahead to the death report here. And unfortunately, 79 deaths were reported as a net increase of 25 versus last week. So really a big jump up over last week. And with this 79 today, we've actually seen the 7-day average for deaths go over 50 a day for the first time. So we are now tracking at an average of 51 deaths a day over the last 7 days. Unfortunate there. I do think that's probably a trend that's going to stay relatively high, though, given the case counts. But we will continue to watch that over the next couple of weeks. New hospitalizations is expected back over the 300 level. That is about what we expected, a little bit lower than last week, so we're off about 25%. Remember, A, this is a manual number, but B, we've seen kind of impacts to the other numbers as well, so I guess what you're hearing overall from when I look at all this stuff is it doesn't seem to fit the existing trend really well. So my level of confidence in any of this data is low right now. I'll leave it at that. We had 60 fewer active hospital beds in use, which is, I think, a benefit. However, the counter to that is we are now at 87% statewide for critical care usage. Let's take a look at that chart. We can see Athens region there. They went up to 99%, so they are now only one bed remaining. We had the Columbus region is up 19 in a day. So they went to one bed remaining, and now they are at 99%. The Tift region area in Region L is now only 3 beds remaining. They're at 96%. The Columbus region added 19 beds. The Tift region added 7 beds in use. We had a total statewide of 66 additional beds in use, and we are getting very, very close to the highest percentage of capacity we've seen in use over the next, we've seen in use since we've been tracking this data. So that is something to keep an eye out on. Lots of other things to talk about today too. It's definitely been an interesting day. So I want to get into some discussion here about how people interpret the numbers to their own advantage sometimes. This is in response to some posts I've seen in the coronavirus Georgia Reddit group about how can he say this, or how can he say this, or how can, if you look at the discussion was really related to the Axios interview by President Trump, and two people were trying to interpret the same data differently. And I thought it might be helpful to take a look and see from a Georgia perspective, how could we take the case information and how could that be interpreted differently based on different perspectives coming into the data. So let me go ahead and share this and see if this will help you understand a little bit how you can talk like a politician and share the data. I put this together earlier today before we had the Tuesday data, but it fits. I don't think it significantly changes what's here. Here's the case trends as we've been seeing it. This is 48 days of data or so, looking at from mid-June through early August. And we now see where we're at from a plateau perspective. So obviously as a politician, and you could apply this as a businessman who's trying to share results with investors or with their leaders or whatever. There's a lot of ways this goes, but you're trying to share the data from a particular perspective. Sometimes you're trying to get people to have more confidence in the data because there's some disparity in it. Sometimes you're trying to make the country feel more positive about where we're going because you want people to go out and spend and do things. Sometimes you're just trying to cover your butt. When you think about those things, there's different levels of way you can take that same data and interpret it. So let me give you a couple of suggestions. First one is we stopped the growth of cases we had in early July. That is absolutely true. We did stop the growth of cases we had in early July. And if you follow the red arrows here, I'm going to try and get this a little more centered up. If you follow the red arrows here, you can see in early July, we had a severe ramp up of cases, and we went from 2,000 cases a day to 3,500 cases a day. And now we don't have that anymore. We are holding steady at around 3,500 cases a day. So success here is we're not growing as fast as we used to. And that's certainly one of the ways to look at this data. The second example I did, and again, all this is the same chart and the same data. All I've done is add some little red dots and numbers to it so you can see the context. Our average daily cases is already down 6% in less than 2 weeks. That sounds positive, right? Why is that positive? Well, on July 24th, we were at 3,745 cases. We're now at 3,500 cases, so we're down 232 for the 7-day average in the last 11 days. If you take that and do the math, 6.2% decline. Sounds good to me, right? Going down is good. We want fewer cases. This is what it makes sound like. Not a huge impression in the data, but it's absolutely a true fact by stating that. You could not get anybody to argue with you on the math from that perspective. The third option that I've got is our daily case report is less than half of what it was 2 weeks ago. Now, instead of looking at 7-day average data, I've shifted to say, here's the worst case scenario data to the best case scenario data. And look at this. We were at 4813 just a couple of Fridays ago. And on Monday, we only had 2,258 new cases. So we cut the number of new cases in a day by half if you look at a random day back here and a random day up here. True information, but just the way you select the data does not really lend itself to honesty. I'm just gonna say that way. It doesn't lend itself to honesty. Now, I hate to say it, but I have seen a very similar use of data by Governor Kemp in some of his press conferences. As I've gone back and checked his facts to see, hey, he may have said things are declining or whatever. Now, he hasn't had a press conference in a while, so it's hard to check his facts. But if there were, we could do something like this. And this is, I don't want to say it's exactly what he's done, but it is very similar in this option 3 to what we've seen before. So just get it in your mind that you can say different things with the same amount of data, because as Mark Twain once said, there's 3 kinds of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. And this is where the statistics part come in. So what do we really want to say at the end of the day? I'm just going to go ahead and kind of say it this way, which is average cases are up from 1,000 per day at the end of June to 3,500 today. And actually, I would probably add in an asterisk that they plateaued in mid-July, and we've been sitting at 3,500 average cases a day for about 3 weeks now. So that's probably the most accurate way I feel like just comparing this case data could be. But you've got to remember that whenever you're trying to look at this data, you may be looking at it with a particular agenda in mind when it comes to, I want to tell people we're successful, or I want to tell people we're risky, or I just want to give the plain overall view of the data. I could have very easily put in a note here that said, maybe something along the lines of, we've had, I'm math off the top of my head, 40,000 cases in 3 weeks, or whatever it might be, right? So 35,000 cases in 10 days. True, because it's 10%. That number sounds a lot worse than what some of the other numbers. So think about the sender of the message and the context they're trying to give you as they're sending that message along. I want to go back for a second and touch on another couple of things on the daily report. I'm going to try and zoom this in a little bit here. We are on the cusp of a couple of different milestones. So we are on the cusp of passing 2 million tests in Georgia. Okay. We are on the cusp of passing 200,000 cases in Georgia. And with the pass of 200,000 cases, that will take us to about 1 in 50 people having COVID-19 in Georgia. That will probably happen, depending on if we have days like this or normal average days. I expect by the end of the week we would see the 200,000 cases. We're going to pass 20,000 hospitalizations. I don't know that anybody is going to look at that data too significantly, but I do feel like passing 4,000 deaths will be a milestone that people will talk about. We had 79 today, so getting another 80 or 79 in there to get to 4,000 deaths will not be a tough task for us right now. So I'm hoping that we don't hit these soon. Maybe we're lucky and maybe all this is slowing down, but it feels like one way or another, we're going to hit 3 big milestones in the next couple of days, and we want to keep our eye open for that. Okay, last thing today. I know I've been going on and on, so I'm going to try and make this one quick. I want to talk a little bit about how I get my new case number. So the Georgia Department of Public Health has changed their site and changed their site again to give different amounts of data on the case numbers and those kind of things. And it's helpful from a statistical perspective. But if you go onto the page and you look at the numbers, there's actually 3 numbers for cases today. One is around 2,500. I report 2513. That was the number that I came up with today. Confirmed cases on the Georgia Department of Public Health site was 2573, and they had a reported today cases of 2288. So what's the one you want to follow? What do you want to follow? All I want you to know is I'm doing this from a net new cases perspective. So it's really as simple as if the total number of cases today was 200,000 and the total number of cases tomorrow was 200,010, I'm going to tell you there were 10 new cases today. Other folks, like the DPH, are going to look at that data slightly differently. So I don't want people to think I'm maneuvering the data or doing it differently. My intent is, at the end of the day, I want my total of all cases to tie back to the total of all cases on the report that the DPH is putting out. So if that's 197,000 and whatever, that's what I'm trying to tie back to. That's why I'm showing net new cases every day, because I don't have the data to go back and say, of the difference between the 2513 that the DPH that I have and the 2573 that DPH has, I don't know where those 60 are. I can't go back and say, oh, I got to take 5 out of Monday and 3 out of Saturday and whatever. So net new cases is where I'm going to continue to report, generally because I've consistently reported it that way since we started. No need to change at this point in time. Just keep that trend going. So when you look at this daily report, you're going to see I've even added it here. Net new tests a day, net new cases a day, net new deaths a day, net new hospitalizations a day. The GMA active hospitalizations is a pure number that's given every day, so we don't need to do the net on that. But the other numbers are ones that need to be calculated, and I'll continue to do that so you can kind of know where that number is coming from. I've got that question a couple of times. Finally, one note on the tests over new cases. If you look at the purple box there, it's percent of PCR tests versus new cases. So somebody asked me the other day, why doesn't my percentage of, if I divided 18,151 or 2513 divided by 18,151, it probably doesn't come out to 14.0%, right? Correct. Because new cases are only tied to viral tests, the PCR test. And antibody tests may show that there are additional cases that had happened in the past, but we're not tying them back to the total number of new cases on a daily basis. So that tie is only against the new viral cases. I want to show all cases and then what the new all tests and then what the new percentage of new tests are from a viral perspective. So that's what I'm doing there. If you have any questions, put them in the chat on Reddit and in the Reddit discussion. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And hopefully, I know this is my longest video so far. Hopefully I didn't wear you out. Tomorrow, we'll go through the weekly numbers again because that's what we do on Wednesday. In the meantime, thank you for checking in with me. Thanks for hanging on till the end of this video, and we will talk to you tomorrow.